What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Baseball Banter. And more moves went on. And man, this has been a super, super crazy offseason. And before we get into that, as always, I'm joined by my brother from another mother, kid with the golden locks, your best friend of mine, Mike Hewitt. Thanks for joining me, Mike. Thanks for skipping out on football picks, you prick.
Sorry, no problem, but I'm here to talk baseball. And yeah, winter meetings another week after, and it's been crazy.
So let's jump right on into this. And another Southern California team has been making a lot of noise. No, it's not the Dodgers, it's the San Diego Padres. Uh, right now, the Padres are just going all out. Last year, they were an extremely offensive challenge team. They only scored 535 runs, third lowest since the 1994 strike. That's how bad their offense was. So what they did was is they went out and they acquired Matt Kemp. That trade was finally official, and it almost got shot down. Did you see that? They found arthritis in his hip.
Yeah, I failed the physical, yeah.
Yeah, he almost failed physical, so he almost shot that down. They got Will Myers in a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. They got Derek Norris in a trade with the Oakland Athletics, and today they acquired Justin Upton. Mike,
You're forgetting their best player. You forgot the best addition.
who?
Will Middlebrooks.
Oh yeah, and they got Will Middlebrooks as well. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'll be great.
So Mike, what do you make of all these Padre moves? Do you think they're a contender now? Do you like what they did to the offense? I mean, what say you, Mike?
Obviously, I like all the additions they made to the offense. I mean, there is some risk that comes with a lot of the dudes, particularly Will Myers, Matt Kemp also. But, I like Justin Upton. I mean, I like what the Padres have done overall. I like some of the young, low-risk, high-reward type of pitchers they're bringing back, Josh Johnson, Bryn Morrow, to go along with a staff of Tyson Ross, Andrew Kashner. And I think they're going to be a legitimate contender. I know you have very high expectations for the team, and I'll let you elaborate on that in a second. And we'll get to the particulars a little bit later with the players. But overall, I think the Padres are significantly improving their team, and it's about goddamn time. I mean, I remember in the 2010 they won 90 games, but that was kind of a little bit of a fluky thing, if you ask me.
Well, they lost to the Giants on the last day of the
Yeah, they
season.
did. They almost got in, but it's about time they're spending money and they're making big moves, and it's good for the San Diego fans. Now their Chargers are eliminated.
Almost eliminated. They're getting close. I love these moves to the Padres. What they're doing is they're going out there and they're trying to get a club that would be equivalent to a big market club, but at a small market price. And I really like what AJ Preller is doing with this squad. I mean, think about it. Last year they scored 535 runs, but their pitching staff only allowed 577. Now, this is going to shock you all when I get this, but Mike and I were talking about this, and I think I present a pretty valid argument about this. Last year, only scoring 535 runs and allowed 577. Their pitching staff allowed less runs than the Dodgers pitching staff. Yes, a pitching staff that is way cheaper. I mean, think about this. Greinke making as much money as he is. Clayton Kershaw making as much money as he is. The guys like Hyun-Jin Ryu in that staff and Dan Herron. I mean, they had some guys in that squad. I mean, you think about it, go, who's the better pitching staff? Right away, you're going to go Dodgers. But they allowed less runs than the Dodgers did. So, here's my point. I'm going to go out here and put this. I think right now, based on what the additions you have, adding Matt Kemp, adding Justin Upton, adding Will Myers, adding Derek Norris, Will Middlebrooks, all those guys, I think you look at these teams right now. Dodgers are losing a lot. They're losing Hanley Ramirez. You're adding Howie Kendrick. That's fine, whatever. But how's he going to do in his first year in a Dodgers uniform? You don't know. You're getting Jimmy Rollins. He's getting up there in age. You're losing your most productive outfielder, I think, that you had in your whole season, because Puig really fell off in the second half as Kemp really started to shoot up and do really good. Yeah, I know they got Yasmani Grandal, and their bullpen is not bad at all. But Giants, that squad, their offense is still just kind of mid to me. I mean, Brandon Belt gets hurt all the time, so you can't rely on him. Buster Posey, fine. He had a kind of a shaky start to the year, but he came on. Casey McGee was a monster. They just got him today. We'll touch on him in a bit in RBI situations, but can he repeat? Look at their outfield. Angel Pagan's always hurt. Hunter Pence, I like him. Sure, fine, but you lost Mike Morris, who was hit some big home runs for them. And then you don't got to worry about the Rockies. So here's my point. I think that the Padres have a legit shot at being the best team in this division. Now, you're gonna sit here and go blasphemy about this, but no. Here's my point. If you take the Dodgers offense, just the amount of runs they scored last year, and put them on that San Diego Padres team, they have 141 run differential. They were a plus 141. That easily takes them from a 77-win squad last year, almost 500, with a team that had the third worst offense in baseball since 1994, the fewest amount of runs scored. That easily takes them from 77 wins to almost 90. If you give them a team that just has if you give them the Dodgers offense on that team, they would have had the third best run differential in baseball last year if you give them just the Dodgers offense. And the Dodgers offense wasn't even, it was good, but it wasn't even as good as the Athletics offense, totally, even though the Athletic offense was, heavily inflated by that first half. It wasn't as good as the Tigers offense. If you give those guys like the Tigers offense or the Athletics offense, their run differential is almost 200. My point being is, you give this team, if each one of their starting players had 10 more RBIs, I mean, for Christ's sakes, Jed Jerko, who didn't even hit 220, had the most RBIs on that squad with 51. The most home runs on that squad was 15. If each one of those guys has 10 more RBIs, the starting 9, 10 more RBIs, their run differential automatically shoots up almost to plus 70. And that takes them to over a 500 squad. So my point being is, with that pitching staff, with Andrew Cashner and Tyson Ross, and now Brandon Morrow on there, and Josh Johnson coming back, and Ian Kennedy, and a good bullpen that they have, I don't see how with the Dodgers' losses, the Giants being inconsistent from every other year, you don't got to worry about the Rockies, how you could not consider the Padres the best team in that division when you could have gave them any team with a better offense. You take the Dodgers offense, someone in their own team. For Christ's sake, you take the Giants offense and put it on that Padres team. They're over a 500 squad. So, I think they're the best team in this division right now with these moves. And I know they're going to be in a bigger ballpark, but Upton played in Atlanta, and that's not an easy place to hit bombs out there. And my man almost went deep 30 times, a couple of times in a row there. Matt Kemp, he's had a couple of 30-plus home run seasons playing in Chavez Ravine. Hit the ball there at night. Don't fly whatsoever. Derek Norris, he is top 10 catcher in OPS Plus last year. Playing at O.Co Coliseum. Going to be playing in a park, in Padres, whatnot, He's used to playing in a big ballpark. Will Myers is probably the exception of the few. Tampa is kind of a neutral park, whatnot, for pitchers and hitters. So, it is what it is. His power might go down some. And Will Middlebrooks, I don't even want to talk about him. That guy is just he's used spare parts.
He sucks. Yeah, he's terrible.
So, am I crazy to believe this, Mike?
You're not crazy. The one guy you talked about the last second, Will Myers, the issue I have with him is it's games played. Now, I know in 2013 he came up late. I think he came up it might have been June. I can't remember. And he played in 88 games, won the Rookie of the Year, I believe, and was successful. Helped even contribute a little bit in the playoffs. But then you look to 2014, and he played 87 games. Numbers weren't impressive. He was injured, on and off the field. But, I think that's one of the most underrated stats in all of baseball. And he's still young, obviously, so maybe it was just a bad year. But I hope it's not a thing that is to come. Because, you see this Troy Tulowitzki. You have these guys in their 20s who just have trouble staying on the field, and that's certainly not going to look good in their 30s. And if it's a trouble in their 20s, it's not a good sign. But if he stays on the field, if Matt Kemp stays on the field, and Upton continues to hit like he did with Atlanta, this team's going to score runs. Now, are they going to score as many runs as the Dodgers would have last year? Maybe. I mean, who knows? But I do think the park will be a little bit of a factor. But yeah, I mean, it's a better lineup, and it's a good lineup, and they're going to compete in this division, and certainly for a wild card.
We typically think of the Giants as an offensive challenge team, do we not?
Absolutely. I do.
Last year, they scored 665 runs. With the Padres pitching staff, they would have been almost plus 100. And that's with a lineup that heavily relies on Buster Posey, heavily relies on Hunter Pence to be their main guys. And more, they had a lot of other guys in there throwing in there fine, whatever.
Don't forget Pablo Sandoval. I mean, he was solid.
Pablo was in there. So my point being is, even if they'd had one superstar, Seth Smith was probably their most consistent hitter. One, with that pitching staff, they allowed the fewest amount of runs in their division. Less runs allowed than the Giants, less runs allowed than the Dodgers. And I'm sure if you look at pitching stats on paper, you're going to go, well, Madison Bumgarner to Ian Kennedy, I'm going to take that all day. Or, Tyson Ross.
Yeah, the names aren't sexy. You're right.
But
they're underrated. The pitching staff is underrated.
But their pitching staff was that good. Now, I'm not going to say their staff is going to be that as good as it was last year. But my point being is now that you got some kind of goddamn offense. Like, this is my whole point. You could have taken almost anyone. Like, not even first-tier star players. Not Hunter Pence's, not even, Buster Posey's. But, like, second-rate guys. Just someone that could hit more than 50 RBIs and put just 2 of them on the Padres to get them 100 more runs. They would have been a team contending for a second wild card last year based on how good their offense was. Now you had a Matt Kemp. Now you had a Justin Upton. 2 guys right there who almost went deep 30 times already. Almost 60 home runs between the 2 of them. Over almost 200 RBIs between the 2 of them. Just those 2 guys. And you had a Derek Norris behind the dish. You had a Will Myers who had an injury-riddled season last year. But he's got some pop. He's capable of driving in 80 RBIs in that park. Hitting 30 doubles in there. This is my point. With that staff, that's no joke. Allowed the fewest amount of runs compared to the Clayton Kershaw Dodgers and Zach Greinke to the Madison Bumgarner, and Jake Peavy and Matt Cain. Matt Cain was hurt, but whatnot. You get my point. Tim Hudson, he was fucking outstanding for the Giants. You just give them any kind of hitter, decent hitters. Like I said, 10 more RBIs out of each one of those players. The run differential would have been plus like 30, and it'd have been over a 500 squad. So now that you got this kind of team with that pitching staff, with those additions, I don't see how people cannot think this team is not a contender for the division right now. With the losses of the Giants that they've had, with the losses of the Dodgers have had, and how good the Padres pitching staff is.
So let me ask you this question. Is it playoffs or bust for the Padres?
It has to be. It has to be because first off, they're not going to re-sign Justin Upton. They're just not. I'm sorry. He's going to be a guy that's going to want anywhere from $18 to $22 million a year. His power numbers are going to come down a little bit. I think he's going to know that. Even though, like I said, Turner Field's a hard park to hit home runs in, but I don't think there's any way he hits more than 25. There's no shot in hell. And he's too streaky. You're going to be relying on Matt Kemp to stay healthy all year. Yeah, that's a big if. You're going to hope Will Myers comes back and has a good year. Derek Norris, can he repeat, whatnot? But, Will Middlebrooks, can he ever repeat what he was his rookie season? Fine. But to put all these pieces, to mortgage some of your farm system, because they're not trading away bums. I mean, they mortgaged some of their farm system. I mean, they kept Austin Edges and whatnot, some of their bigger guys. But they mortgaged a lot of their future for some of these dudes. And if they don't come out here and these guys don't perform to at least 3/4 of their expectations and they fall, don't even compete for a wild card this year, they're screwed. They are absolutely screwed because there is a lot of hype running around this team right now. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid full blown right now. And I've never been a huge Padres guy. But when you look at the run differentials and look how good that pitching staff was, I just don't see how you can't think that the Padres cannot contend for this division based on offensive pieces they've brought in, based on how bad their offense was last year, based on how good their pitching staff is. So, playoffs are bust, no doubt about it. So, now we can move on. Now that I got my Padres rant out of the way, I'm interested to see what kind of people are going to say about that. The Braves, pretty much breaking up the band. Do you think what John Hart's doing in Atlanta is smart or nuts for a team, was under 500 but had a couple of good years of success there? They did accumulate quite a bit of good talent. You think him breaking up the band like this is a bad idea for the Braves?
I never heard so much about building for a new stadium, building a team to have a good product for the new stadium. And that's all I've heard about the Braves, in that opening the new field. And what's it, 2017? Is that when it's opening up? I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a couple years down the road. I mean, they extended Kimbrel. They extended Freddie Freeman. They extended one other guy. I can't remember who it was. But they didn't extend
Andrelton Simmons.
They didn't extend Hayward or Upton. I kind of understand it. I mean, they're bringing up a lot. They have a lot of good farm system guys right now. This is it's a mid to a little bit above average kind of market, it seems. It doesn't seem like the Braves ever go out and have huge off seasons, but they're always a respectable group, and I think that they're going to be building for a nice pitching staff. And if they can have a good Andrelton Simmons in the next couple of years, he's obviously been really good, especially defensively. Freddie Freeman continues to hit, especially home runs. I mean, I think this team is building for success long term. But at the same time, I still viewed this team as a winnable group. I mean, just keep in mind the last couple of years. I know last year they missed the postseason, but they were a postseason team. They competed in 2011. They collapsed with the Red Sox. 2010 they made it. 2012 they were in the wild card game, the crazy infield fly rule. 2013 they won the division. I mean, it's not like this team was a bag of bums. Maybe it was time to move on. I think that's what good GMs do. They think when the window's closed and that's when they break the band together, like John Hart did. But I don't know if now was the time. Maybe it will be, but that'll wait to see.
Did I ever tell you my theory that Chipper Jones cost them a playoff spot in 2011?
Yes, you did. In Miami, it was Florida, right?
Yeah, they're playing a game in Miami, and Omar Infante hit a ball. And I hope these people aren't hearing this stupid fucking beeping, stupid Google Plus. But Omar Infante ended up getting got a chance because Chipper Jones booted a ball, which would have ended the game. And Kimbrel blew a save because Omar Infante hit a walk-off home run. And that win fucked them over because the Cardinals ended up jumping them. Or that loss ended up fucking them over because the Cardinals ended up jumping them because Chris Carpenter, I think, pitched a complete game shutout on the last day of the season against the Houston Astros.
Well, and don't forget, I mean, Craig Kimbrel blew the game in the ninth inning against Philly that night.
Yeah,
so
that was a nuts game. But, I don't blame John Hart what he's doing. This guy, he assembled those Indians teams in the 90s. This guy knows what to do. I mean, look at the talent he acquired. I mean, ended up having Albert Bell. He got he had Manny Ramirez on there and Jim Thome. I mean, this is a guy that knows how to assemble a squad. I mean, none of his squads ever won a World Series. Fine, whatever. But, I mean, you look at the Braves. He knew what he had there. He knew he has Anderson Simmons. He knew he has Freddie Freeman. These guys that they locked up long term and Craig Kimbrel. He knew his nucleus of talent there, and he knew what they lacked. He's got Julio Teheran in the rotation for the next while. Losing Medlin and Beachy, fine, two guys that can't stay healthy anyways. It is what it is. Ends up getting Shelby Miller, a couple other potential starting young prospect pitchers, and just to rebuild around and get this core. Because the great thing is, yeah, he's in a rebuilding mode, fine for 2017. But the players that get locked up long term anyways are so young and still coming into their prime that when they finally get the group of guys they want around them to win in 2017, these guys are not even going to be 30 yet. So, I mean, he's in the perfect window. You got a bunch of young, cost-controlled guys that you locked up long-term. You're trading away other guys anyways that are going to be more money that you don't really need, if you're going to be in a rebuilding mode because you already got your core group of dudes. And when you do have a squad you're going to be able to compete with, these guys are still going to be in the prime of their careers anyways. So John Hart is smart about how he's going about this, and I don't think he's done either. I don't see any chance now Evan Gattis is going to be on that squad come the start of next season. So I think he's gone too. And I think they're going to try any which way possible to try to get rid of B.J. Upton as well. I think you might see B.J. and Evan Gattis in the trade together just to try to move them.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Dontrell Willis and Miguel Cabrera type thing, with the Tigers. And that was the whole reason why they traded Miguel Cabrera was because they're trying to get rid of the Dontrell Willis contract. So. And then what does Dave Dombrowski do? He signs fucking Dontrell Willis to an extension as soon as he gets him. That was bad. But I don't blame John Hart for what he's doing. I really like what he's doing. I mean, and like he said, it's not like he's breaking up the 27 Yankees because people were trying to chastise him. And they lost. They weren't even a 500 team last year with that fucking squad they had. No. I'm honestly surprised Freddie Gonzalez is still the manager of that team too. So. I don't mind what John Hart's doing. I like what he's doing. I didn't like the Nick Markakis signing, though. If you're going to rebuild, why the fuck do you sign Nick Markakis and a guy who's going to have neck surgery? Didn't make sense to me.
I guess he's going to be ready for opening day. Maybe it was just to have somewhat of a respectable kind of team heading into next year. I mean, so they won't bottom out, but they'll be, middle of the pack, third, fourth place. I don't know. Right.
So we're going to move on here as this thing continues to beep at me that I have to update my Google+. Yankees today made more moves. They traded Martin Prado and David Phelps for Nathan Eovaldi and Garrett Jones. What'd you think?
I think they need some pitching. Was Nathan Eovaldi that guy? I don't know. There's a lot of upside with the guy. He's 24 years old. I think last year was the first year he got near the 200 inning mark. Because he got a full season of starts. I think he pitched 33 times. From watching him play in a couple starts, the dude throws the ball hard, but he gives up a lot of hits. I think he gave up over 200 hits last year.
And his strikeout rate isn't that high for someone as throws as hard as he does. So.
Yeah, so that was interesting. His home run totals were down, but then again, he pitches in Marlins Park. I read one report from a guy who writes for a Miami paper and says that he's going to get shelled pitching in the American League East. I mean, again, we'll wait to see about that. I like him I like the take-in, but at the same time, I mean, is he going to be enough for the Yankees to win the division. I know the American League East is down this year for the second straight year, but I still don't think they're fully ready to be put over the top. I still think they need another guy. As for Garrett Jones, I like him a little bit. I'm trying to think. I just where's he going to play? I mean, I guess one of the outfield spots maybe, or maybe he'll. I don't know. I still don't know how that's going to work out because Teixeira is presuming he's healthy. He'll be playing first base.
I think he's just backup depth at this point.
Really? I mean, left-handed bat, Yankee Stadium, left-hand hitters. That's always a good thing. But as what they gave up, Martin Prado, I really liked him as a player. He came to play. I think he plays like 140 plus games every year. He doesn't get on base a lot, but he hits the ball. He's just a ball in play. He's versatile.
He's just a gamer, man.
Yeah, I love Martin Prado. So, and he played really well with the Yankees. It was only 37 games, but he was really good for them last year. And then who was the other dude they gave up in the deal? David Phelps. Oh, not a big Phelps guy. The last 2 years as a starter and reliever, his ERA plus has just been on. You all right?
This fucking Google Plus keeps telling me to update this shit.
I can't hear.
It's getting annoying.
I can't hear it. But
all right, keep going.
David Phelps, for me, I never really liked him. I know a lot of people thought he has a lot of upside. Doesn't throw particularly hard. That's kind of an issue with me. Good back end of the rotation type of guy. He's nothing more than number 5. I think he'll eat innings. How quality will they be? I don't know. But then again, he's moving to the National League East. Bigger ballpark. Maybe they'll have more success there. Easier lineups. So I think this will be a good move for both Phelps and Prado. But I don't think Eovaldi's the guy for the Yankees to put him over the top.
I like them getting Eovaldi because simply for the fact they needed some kind of young blood in that rotation. Ivan Nova was supposed to be that guy. He's already a dude that got hurt. You know,
consider Michael Pineda, young blood, or Masahiro Tanaka.
Well, I was going to make the point of that, but both those guys have an injury history already. You don't know if Tanaka knocking on the door of, how's that UCL looking? Is he going to be able to pitch 200 innings on that thing? The Yankees are going to be conservative with him because they already had problems once with it. So now you add some young blood in that rotation, but I didn't like them getting rid of Prado because, like I said, the guy's a gamer. He's a good hitter. He doesn't strike out a shit ton like a lot of the Yankee guys do. And where he can play everywhere, infield, outfield. And what I like about him is it's not just like he's like a Don Kelly, whatnot, for the Tigers, where he can come out and play some spots, but it's kind of mediocre at him. He plays them with quality. He's a really good defender at third. He's a good defender at second. He can go out and shag it in the outfield. So I really like it. And it's a really versatile piece that the Miami Marlins are acquiring. And I actually really like everything they've done. I mean, they got rid of Casey McGee, a guy who was pretty big for them last year, to San Francisco and whatnot. But now you look at their team, you got Martin Prado there, along with D. Gordon, who's going to be getting on, hopefully getting on base a lot for Stanton to drive him in. And you got Mike Morris, a middle of the order bat for Miami to maybe give Stanton some protection, based on who it is, along with Christian Yelich. And then you look at the other part of their staff, Dan Herron and Matt Lato, some veteran leadership at the top there, along with Jose Fernandez, hopefully coming back healthy and strong. So that's going to be really a nice bridge gap. And not to forget to mention guys like Henderson Alvarez, who's an absolute stud as well. So, I mean, they got some really nice pieces. So, do you think they're a contender next year, a wild card contender?
Absolutely. I am so on the Marlins right now. I mean, I think Matt Latos, you look what he did in San Diego, pitching in a big ballpark. You just alluded to that with the offense that the Padres are going to have. He's going to a huge ballpark again. I mean, he was even decent with the Reds, and I mean that's a bandbox where he was pitching. But I think he's going to be outstanding with the Marlins. I like Matt Latos as a pitcher. I think he's, Brian Kenny was saying he's in the top 25. I don't know if I put him that high, but he's certainly a very good, talented pitcher. I think staying in the National League is going to help him out a lot. And offensively, the Marlins are they're giving Stan protection, and they're adding to that lineup. You got another year of maturity with some of the youngsters, like you just alluded to. So, and the division's down. I mean, you have the Nationals, the Phillies and Braves are pretty much, they've waved the white flag, they're done. The Mets, the Mets need some offense. The Mets have pitching, but until they have another 1 or 2 hitters in that lineup, I don't think Michael could. Yeah, that's who they need. They need Troy Tulowitzki or someone of the like. I mean, I'm not joking, to help David Wright, because Michael Kadire is not enough protection for him. And
Curtis Granderson just sucks now.
Yeah, I certainly buy into the Marlins. The NL Central, it's pretty much going to be the Cardinals and Pirates, and you got the NL West, the Giants, if they bounce back for a second consecutive year. Dodgers and Padres, absolutely buying into the Miami Marlins.
Well, I was buying into the Miami Marlins before they had all those moves. I was buying into them last year that they were going to be. You and I remember got into a couple arguments about it.
I didn't.
I was believing in them mid-season. I'm like, dude, wait till next year. Wait till the offseason. Remember I was saying that kind of stuff? And now they got some people on that squad. So I'm totally buying into the Marlins being a wild card contender next year. I don't think they're good enough to win the division. I'm still saying that the Nationals are better than them. I'm not buying into as much as I bought into the Padres. But I bought it in last year. I was telling you, man, next year they're going to be filthy once they get Jose Fernandez. They got a nice young squad there. I forgot Jared Saltalamacchia as well. He did nice work for them as well. And I really like Steve Cishek too. I really like that guy. So I agree with you 100% that the Marlins are a wild card contender. Do you think I will touch on the Mets real quick? Do you think Lucas Duda is the biggest fluke as I think he is?
What do you mean, Flukas and what? I mean, I think the power's there. Uh,
The power is unquestionable. I mean, when he first came up, I remember watching him. He got getting some moonshots. But I think his season last year was just flukish as all shit.
yeah, I don't look at him and have a lot of fear. If I'm an opposing pitcher, I don't view him in the Mets lineup and say, oh, we got to watch out for him. He's solid. I don't think he's anything more than a number 6 hitter in a good lineup.
Like,
Asking him to be the cleanup hitter, no.
I'm gonna bring up his strikeouts real quick. Lucas Duda just like he strikes out way too fucking much. He doesn't make contact enough for me. Like last year, he struck out 135 times. Fine. And he only walked 69 times. I mean, that's not too bad.
No.
But he was striking out 135 times and the on base being only 350. League average is 331. If it wasn't for those 69 walks, I mean, it would be just okay. I mean, I know he went deep 30 and drove in 30 times, drove in 92. But I mean, we're talking about a guy that doubled his max home run total he ever had, 15 last year. And I know, I just with that amount of strikeouts, and his strikeouts have climbed almost every single year in the big leagues. I don't see that translating over to another season of 30 and 92. I just don't. Not at 253. I mean, he's like a young Adam Dunn to me, but just doesn't make as much contact as consistent as Adam did back in his days. So I don't know. I'm not buying into Lucas Duda. Finally, last but not least, Giants re-sign Jake Peavy and get back Casey McGee. You don't have to touch on this too much. You can say what you want to say about this.
I think Peavy's going to be great. He was great when he went to the National League last year. I think he had an ERA almost sub-2 with San Francisco. Wasn't great in the postseason, but, he doesn't have to be. In that rotation, back-end starter, innings eater, he's going to be good. I mean, you can almost take an argument in the National League. He'll have an ERA, I would imagine, no higher than 3.2. I mean, I think he's a National League pitcher. He was dominant with the Padres, couldn't really hack it with the White Sox or Red Sox, but you put him back in the National League West, and the guy performs. I don't know how much value you put into clubhouse guys, but he's a good clubhouse guy. He helps team chemistry, and I think it's a good move for the Giants. So there's not a whole lot of risk involved.
Let's be honest here. If Tim Hudson would have went to Oakland instead of San Francisco this past offseason, you think his numbers would have looked the same as they did with the Giants? Let's be real now. No.
That's just the facts. National League fans don't like to get into that argument, but it's second-class baseball.
It really is. So Jake Peavy staying there in San Francisco is the best thing he could have possibly done.
Yep.
And it's the best thing the Giants could have done. They got a lot of veteran leadership, Tim Hudson, Jake Peavy, to go along with a really young, Madison Bumgarner and whatnot. You got Ryan Vogelsong and Matt Cain and whatever Tim Lincecum is nowadays. So, I mean, I really like that. And the Casey McGee thing, like I said, Casey McGee was pretty good for the Marlins last year. Fills the void that they needed for Pablo Sandoval, and once Brandon Belt gets hurt, he can go over to first base and fill in for him as well. So, because that's going to happen. So a versatile guy can play both sides of the diamond, so I like that. Fills a hole. And that's all I really asked about. There's nothing really to touch on that. It's not like a huge move. And there's nothing even announced about who's going back to from the Marlins or who's leaving San Francisco. They don't think it's that Strickland kid that's going to get dealt, the guy that was giving up home runs and crying about it in the World Series.
I do like him, though. I think he's got good stuff.
Yeah, he does have good stuff. But they didn't say who was going, so solid move. You needed veteran leadership and rotation. You missed out on John Lester. It is what it is. So you get a nice solid pitcher in PV, did good work for you, and you get a guy in McGee who can help your offense. So
just one quick fact check. Vogelsong is a free agent, so he's not on the Giants right now. But I'm sure that they would consider negotiating with him.
Yeah, well, you got big time Timmy Jim, someone you're paying $20 million to be a bullpen pitcher.
My goodness.
At this point in his career. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for you. If any more news happens, we get an accumulation of shit to come on here and talk about. I hope that thing wasn't beeping throughout the entire time of this podcast, or I'm going to be really pissed because Google Plus is terrible. But that's a whole nother video I could rant about. Anyways, like I said, we'll be back once we get some more shit to talk about. And as always, I'm John Check. That's Mike Hewitt. Hope you guys enjoyed this stuff. Don't sleep on the Padres. That's all I got to say. Have a good one.
Happy holidays, guys.